Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Sean Hewitt here on another big interview, and this time I'm joined by Kay Reeve, the emotional awareness expert, who's a published. She's a published book writer. She's somebody who's also brought the opportunity to build empathy through leadership and making sure that the people she's working with are living life to their fullest with emotional intelligence. Kay Reeve, welcome.
Thank you, Sean. Oh, a lovely intro.
Thank you
I'm
so
going to
much.
follow you.
Um, well versed me. Anyway, lovely to have you with us on the big interview today. And one of the key things, obviously, as all of our listeners listening into our YouTube channel, and obviously wherever else we post this across the socials, we always like to know a little bit about the backstory of the people that we're interviewing. So, Kay, let me first ask you a little bit about that backstory. What has, without going into currently what you're doing today, but looking at what's built up to what you're doing today, can you give us a little bit more information on who Kay Reeve is?
Wow. Thank you, Sean. It's obviously great to talk to you today. And for my backstory, there is a lot involved in how I've diverged or merged two kind of aspects of life together to what I do today. One is the parenting role. I had a child, well, I've got two children. My youngest one, my son, was on the autistic spectrum and first tried to take his own life at the age of 8. He was then suicidal on and off for the next 12 years. It was very stressful trying to deal, first of all, with the education system,
Mm-hmm.
at which point we ended up, after he was suicidal every single day for a year, we ended up taking him out of school, home educating him. We weren't getting any traction or support there at all in the right ways that suited him. So the home education was a great choice, made a big difference. But 12 years down the line, hormones are kicked in, life was looming ahead as an adult. And here's an autistic child who still was struggling with his emotions on a massive scale, tremendous amount of emotional dysregulation, and very triggerable.
Mm.
And it was throughout that process, I'd also gone from being that kind of part-time working mum, supporting them after school, to being the home educator for years, to then when they got to their teens, I'd re-entered the corporate world. And I was working for quite a large construction project offshore, uh, working in an office with like 100 managers sharing 70 desks while they're working with this project. And it was like the complete opposite world to being a mum at home with a suicidal son. And so for me, the background is how the two come together. And it's not just about that. There was a lot I learned in that role. But throughout my career, from when I had my first ever summer job when I was 12, I'd worked every single summer and every single Easter holiday from when I was 12 years old. I did not like sitting around doing nothing. I'd always liked being in the workplace. And I'd done such a variety of jobs over the years. This was me, that, between teen jobs, adult jobs, working in factories, already working in other corporate headquarters by the time I was in my early 20s, right through to re-entering that environment after my children reached their teens, as well as doing other things like cafe work and serving ice creams and other stuff, ushering. And over the years, I've had nearly 30 jobs.
Wow.
And so for me, in every single one of them, I'd always had this mentality of taking notice what other people do. I've always been a people watcher. And there was learning what to do and what not to do and how to model myself going forward. And I've always worked on my own personal development for about 30 years as well now. I've been very strong on that with my own way of living, my own way of being around my family. And so it was when something that I'd learned through my corporate work led into me helping my son, this is when life changed. And so it was this night when he was about 20 that we'd sat in the car for about 3 hours one night. He was suicidal again. And this is a night where I couldn't get him back to what I call a safe space. It was like rescuing somebody from drowning. You want to just, to start with, get them on the shore, safe space, before you deal with the rest of the process. But I couldn't even get him back onto dry ground this night. And that was when I had this absolute epiphany that he can't understand his emotions because he can't see them. And it was this visual learning was something that had come to me through training. When I was training other members of staff in the workplace, I was training people and onboarding them with like this 2-day program. So it wasn't even like a half an hour intro. It was a proper training program. And it was something that I'd learned for that then helped my son. And from that day on, that was the last time he ever talked of dying, as I developed a way of showing him his emotions. And that was the emotional cycle diagram. So I have to hold it here to see it. I could disappear. So like I say, emotions are invisible, but they're always there. And so that diagram helped him get back on track, and it transformed him so rapidly. And then he started helping friends, that within a couple of months, he'd gone from like these 3-hour pits of depression down to like 10 minutes where he was able to manage them himself. And I never, ever had to talk him out of a pit of suicidal depression ever again. That was when I realized I needed to do something with it. And so, as a backstory,
Wow.
that's what's led me to doing leadership training, because to me, leadership and all the things that I'd learned throughout my many, many roles in life, plus what I'd learned with parenting, sit together. And many of the strategies that I used in one worked in the other. And I couldn't separate the strategies for being a mum and being a support worker to management teams in a big corporate office.
And the thing is, Kay, I suppose nowadays, especially nowadays, more than anything, that before, go back many, many years, it wasn't the way in which you had to juggle the responsibilities between home life and family life. But as we progressed, and now there's obviously many more, couples, families, the male influence, the female influence in the household. They're both out to work. They're both obviously juggling the responsibilities of bringing the family up as well. So what you've got here is something that I'm sure would resonate with many of the listeners, because they're juggling themselves, irrespective of whether or not the child has is on the spectrum, or whether or not the child is not. There's still this juggling act that's going on, and of course your leadership program, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a very short space of time, will help get people, that family unit, through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, there's all these stories over the years about people in the office who are grumpy and bossy and quiet and shut off, and it's all very often you never know what's going on in their personal life in the background, and they're guarding and shielding and masking themselves in the workplace. And it can actually make team dynamics a little bit difficult. But that's the culture of how people have always had to keep work and home separate. Now, yes, there is an element of where you don't want to be taking all of your problems from one to the other. And the same when people take work problems home and then destroy family life in the evenings. However, what we do want to be doing is switching that culture around. So instead of going, right, we don't take one to the other and there's this clean divide and you're this person or you're that person. And this is where very often people can feel divided in themselves. And they feel like they're trying to behave one way and then trying to behave the other at home. Instead of sort of dividing it or not transferring the problems, if we can look at bridging that gap with transferring the solutions instead, creates a much better culture.
It certainly does.
Really does.
Yeah, it certainly does. I can see the whole positive aspect of that way of thinking and that way of working. So let's bring it up to date. Let's have a find out for those listening in again, who the emotional awareness expert is and what she offers. So could you maybe give us a little bit of a overview with don't obviously not over explain it, but just give us a bit of a snippet of the things that how you help, what you do, and maybe some of the services that are on offer. Over to you,
Yeah,
Kay.
absolutely. I mean, for me, I help people. Primarily people exist in three areas of life, and that's home, education, and workplace. If they're not in those three, they're homeless, uneducated, and unemployed. And that's where the charity sector and therapies come into place as the fourth sector, all of those support organizations. So when you eat, and this is how I process nearly everything, is I create clear divisions and organization of everything.
Yeah.
Years and years of administration work and supporting management teams has taught me to file things very consistently. And that's been a great part of how I've developed frameworks of my own. So when we're talking about the framework that I do, the first book that I wrote was Brain Unchained, which is emotional awareness for teens and young adults. Also doubles up as a parenting support book. But now I am approaching the leadership role more, because even, it's very difficult to get parents to tap into that support and want to step in as that mentor to their own children. That would have been my ideal situation in the home. But I have found it very difficult to get parents to go, oh, yes, I've got time to do that. I've got the patience to do that. Parents kind of want to pass that responsibility on. They're overwhelmed. The education system is a future thing for me, because the education system and tackling that is a stretch goal for what I want to achieve. So for me, the leadership role is such a powerful angle. It gives people a chance to work on it with their own personal development, or from a team perspective, from whatever role or promotion they want to get within the workplace, and support other people. Because even those that have been failed at home and failed in the education system still end up in the workplace. So if we can tackle this from a leadership position as a culture, even a culture within one company, we're creating a ripple effect and top-down learning. So that for me is how I like to pay forward everything I've learned in life. So for the strategy that I've developed for my son around that diagram, it goes further. We look at the emotional awareness in terms of core emotions. We then look at why emotions change. We then look at the root causes of those changes. And that's the three-step process for me that is a universal process. And I've not yet found a situation anywhere universally it doesn't fit the framework that I have for that process. And from there, for the people that want to go on and do the full mentoring program, I then teach right up to emotional intelligence level in 5 pillars. The first one is we cover that emotional awareness, because when you think about, we can go weeks without food, we can go days without water, and we can even survive a couple of minutes without air. How long can we go without having an emotion, like even a subconscious emotion? Because we even breathe and blink based on emotional responses. But who teaches us how to manage and understand those emotions? And so this is where, for me, this is foundational to them building the rest on top. So we then look at the emotional awareness, then we look at personal development skills and empathy skills. So about understanding other people as well as yourself. Then we start to look at the leadership skills and build up on that knowledge, and how we can then use that to support other people. And then the final one that I work into is change management. Because when we've understood and experienced the leadership side of it, to a point that we can preempt change rather than react to it or respond to it, and we can preempt it, that's what then in the more corporate world creates change management with a friction-free mindset within teams. So that's what I offer today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And for those listening in, I'm going through a journey with Kay as well on this process. So I'm about to start my process with her. Looking very much forward to that journey with you, Kay. And I think that having everything sort of systematically building up to working towards a better you, a better better experience of life in the workplace, as well as obviously leadership roles. And leadership is leading yourself as well as obviously leading a team. So if you're a somebody listening in who's a sole entrepreneur or sole director, that this does not exclude you, because it's about personal development in the workplace for yourself as well, and it doesn't have to be about the team so much, but it will also roll into things like dealing with your clients. So lots of great opportunities and information in that toolbox that Kay Reeve has to be able to deliver it, should you be interested. And of course, if you are interested in finding out more about Kay, my next question to Kay is, where do we find you, Kay? Those are the people listening in on YouTube or social medias where this is getting shared. Where do you hang out? What's your socials? Where do you live? Do you do things online? Do you do things face to face? Tell us a little bit about that.
Wow. Well, a lot of the week you can find me hanging out in the TTBCA, I'll get the right way, with Sean and the amazing crew there. If not, then Silvertree, the other one, next one down. So I do a lot of networking within TTBCA and Silvertree. But outside of that, for people who don't know me, they can contact me on LinkedIn or find me in there. They can follow me and contact me through LinkedIn. So just need to search my name and find me on there. The other one is I've got a website, which is kayreeve.co.uk. That one is down this side. I can never get the right way, that one. just look around the screen. I've only been using Zoom for about 10 years and it still confuses me. But anyway, we're all human. So yeah, if it's not LinkedIn, it's not them, kayreeve.co.uk. The website is undergoing some changes at the moment to catch up with Hidden Path leadership. And like you said, it is about the self. There's no I in team, but leadership starts with the self. And it's about looking at the ways we've always done things, the way we're looking to do them, and looking for that mutual route in the middle, that route where things work for everybody, rather than one person going, right, no, we're going to do this, and there's all this resistance, or just keep stuck on the old route and not embracing change. We want that hidden path in the middle, and that's the one that sits, like you said, in the self, in the leadership, and it's powerful. So yes, Instagram, my website, and in TTBCA, probably the best places to find me for now, and also on YouTube actually as well. Search my name. I've got various channels on YouTube, but you can find my emotional awareness one, which is mostly focused on parenting at the moment. And the other one is up here, the Self-Help Bookshelf channel, where I work with other coaches and authors, and we collaborate with each other all around neurodiversity and leadership as well, because that's another big topic for me, is neurodiversity and inclusion.
Wonderful, Kay. Thank you so much. Yes, of course, you can find her on YouTube, because this is a YouTube experience. This is on the TTBCA channel at TTBCA, obviously YouTube at TTBCA. If you're looking for Kay Reeve on LinkedIn, it's the normal linkedin.com/in/Kay-Reeve. So that's the easiest way to find her. And if you type that into the search bar at the top, you will get to the correct Kay Reeve on LinkedIn. Kay, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with me today, and for those listening, don't forget to subscribe and like this particular interview, but subscribe and you'll be able to see all of the other interviews that we've had thus far, along with the recordings of the keynote speakers who have been recorded when they've been on our meetings, delivering some phenomenal tools to those in the workplace and better understanding of the working environments. And one of the things I would just like to finish off before I leave Kay and we leave you here today, here on our channel, is that Kay is an accredited member. She has an accreditation for her service excellence with us. Now, if that's not good enough to reach out to her and find out a little bit more, who knows what is. Kay, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to obviously catching up with you later in the week on one of our meetings.
Absolutely. It'd be nice if some other people join us as guests there as well too. We'd love to see you all.
Lovely. Thanks ever so much, Kay.
Thank you.